Tonight on Reporting Scotland, the company in charge of maintaining 17 Edinburgh schools is accused by the council of hiding from its responsibilities. Frustration for TSB customers who still can't access their money online almost a week after the bank changed computer systems.
The phone calls, the constantly trying online, then you would get access, then it would throw you out, so you start again. So we've probably spent in excess of 15 hours this week just trying to get onto it.
Also on the programme, Steven Gerrard is now the front runner to become the next manager of Rangers. Calls for mass demonstrations if President Trump decides to visit Scotland in July. And with one game left, will Brechin City be the first Scottish club in modern times to finish their season having won no matches? Good evening. Edinburgh Council has accused the private consortium that maintains 17 of the city's schools of trying to hide from its responsibilities. Earlier this month, the council criticised the Edinburgh Schools Partnership for failing to carry out proper repair work at Oxgangs Primary. After the consortium refused to meet parents to discuss long-running problems, the council's chief executive has urged financial backers who've previously bailed it out to intervene. Stephen Godden reports.
Oxgangs Primary is one of 17 private finance schools built and maintained by the Edinburgh Schools Partnership. It was there 2 years ago that evidence of building defects first emerged that led to all 17 being closed for repairs. Earlier this month, more problems were uncovered. Invited to face questions from parents, ESP refused.
I don't think the partnership company or the council are accountable enough for what's happened to the school or for what may happen going forward, because we still don't know if everything is as it should be.
It would be good if at least they could explain to us properly what is going on.
It feels like there is a group that's kind of beyond where we can kind of get to. We can voice our concerns to the school, but that's not really where the problems lie.
The council say recent defects were only discovered after they inspected the schools. ESP had assured them buildings were safe. Next week, councillors will consider calls to introduce an independent inspection regime. Any cost, insists the chief executive, will fall on the partnership.
Well, I feel very strongly they've been hiding from their responsibilities. They are responsible for the repairs and maintenance of these facilities, and they've very obviously not been able to do their job properly, and now they're not facing up to the responsibilities to explain that, and we find that reprehensible.
ESP's accounts show that in late 2016, after the original defects had been repaired at the 17 schools, they needed a loan of £5.5 million from their shareholders to keep going. In the wake of the more recent problems, those in charge here at the council appealed directly to those same financial backers, asking them to intervene. While the maintenance subcontractor, Amy, and the council will face Oxgangs parents next week, an ESP spokesperson said they're working on a statement to be read out at the meeting. In the course of 2 years, they've declined every request for an interview. Today was no different. Stephen Godden, Reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
TSB customers in Scotland have expressed anger that they can't access their money nearly a week after a major computer failure. Businesses have been struggling to make sure staff get paid this month. TSB has brought in experts from IBM to try to solve the crisis, but customers continue to face difficulties. Andrew Black reports.
TSB was built to help ordinary local people right across Britain to thrive.
TSB says it's a bank that likes to say yes, but this week it's been saying no to its customers, like Camellia. She's about to move house and has no furniture. She's also got no access to her TSB account online.
I'm moving out of this flat in 2 days. I need deposits, I need to pay rent, I need to close accounts, my electricity account, my council tax. I need to do it online because even with council tax, it's hard to get through them on the phone. So they say just do it online. And now I can check if I've been paid today. It's really annoying.
And businesses who bank with TSB have also been hit. Ali runs this small cleaning firm based in Cumbernauld. She's not been able to work out whether the money she's owed by customers is in her account.
The phone calls, the constantly trying online, then you would get access, then it would throw you out, so you start again. So we've probably spent in excess of 15 hours this week just trying to get onto it.
This is now day 6 of the TSB crisis. The bank's been in chaos after a computer systems upgrade left hundreds of thousands of customers unable to access services. Yesterday, TSB's boss pledged to fix the problems.
Whilst I'm not downplaying at all the problems we're having, it's important to understand the fundamentals of the bank are working very well. So standing orders, direct debits, debit cards, credit cards, ATMs, all these things are working fantastically well.
But today's payday for many companies, and this Glasgow law firm isn't impressed.
I was dealing with a court case this morning, which was quite a difficult case, and I had to arrange for somebody to take over partway through that so that my staff can pay their mortgages this month. So it is a huge impact on the business, having to spend hours dealing with what should be able to be done in a straightforward fashion in the evening on the internet.
TSB says customers like Camellia won't pay overdraft fees or charges in April, but she's already decided to change banks just as soon as she can log into her account. Andrew Black, Reporting Scotland, Glasgow.
Our business and economy editor, Douglas Fraser, is here now. Douglas, how serious is it when things go so badly wrong for a bank?
Well, as you're hearing there, it's clearly a big problem for some customers while this goes on. It's a major problem, clearly, for TSB's reputation in the longer term. There will be a price to pay. There may be some hefty fines from the regulator. There'll be a price to pay in the boss's bonus, possibly the boss's job as well. But the priority for now is to get things moving before they figure out what's gone wrong. Customers quite rightly expect bank technology to work simply and, crucially, securely. All the more important when they don't have a branch to go to because the branch might have closed. But the software, it's very complex, even more complex when you're doing a transition or a migration from one system to another. Of course things can come unstuck, but rarely do they do so this badly. And TSB isn't the only bank that's facing criticism today. No, the Royal Bank of Scotland, of course, it's been in controversy because 52 branches are due to close in the next couple of months. 10 more, the remotest rural ones, are being given till the end of the year before there's another review. And that was defended today by the Royal Bank's Chief Executive, Ross McEwen. He announced a rise in RBS profits for the start of this year. Those profits brought a call from the bank workers' unions to say that's a reason to put a halt on these branch closures. The Chief Executive pointed to evidence that customers are on the move to mobile and online banking, continuing falls in the number of branch transactions, the number of cheques used, down 17%, likewise for the use of cash machines. And he said what people miss is what he calls a new network in rural areas in particular of mobile banks, covering 440 communities per week. Meanwhile, another bank, Santander, has announced more branch closures for Scotland. They're saying 4 in Glasgow will close towards the end of the year, Mulgai and Lockerbie as well. That's in addition to 4 closing sooner than that in Edinburgh, Linlithgow and East Renfrewshire. OK, Douglas Fraser, thank you very much. A Scottish teenager has fallen to her death from a 7th floor apartment in Mallorca after trying to climb from one balcony to another. 19-year-old Natalie Cormack is thought to have been trying to climb from a friend's apartment to her own flat after losing her keys. An ambulance crew called to the scene were unable to save her. She'd been working at a bar in the resort of Magaluf. Police have confirmed that human remains found in Glasgow belong to 47-year-old Julie Riley. She was reported missing in February, and earlier this week a 41-year-old man appeared in court charged with her murder. Detectives say they're continuing to search a number of locations in the Drummoyne and Govan areas. The prosecution has concluded its evidence in a case where a woman's daughter and sister are accused of her murder. 40-year-old Lynette Greenup and 20-year-old Shayla Greenup are accused of murdering Sharon Greenup. The 46-year-old's badly decomposed body was found at the home they all lived in Troon. From the High Court in Glasgow, Katrina Renton reports.
The prosecution finished its evidence here at the trial today, so for the first time we can show you pictures of the accused in this case. Lynette Greenup is Sharon Greenup's sister. Shayla Greenup is Sharon's daughter. Together they are accused of assaulting and murdering her at the house where they all lived together in Troon, where Shannon's badly decomposed body was found in November 2016. The court has previously heard a forensic scientist say that Shannon may have lain dead for several weeks before she was found. The two women were previously accused of continuing to claim Shannon's benefits after she died. Today, the Crown dropped some of the charges against them, including that one and one of breach of the peace. Next week, defence lawyers will have the opportunity to make their case. Both women deny assaulting and murdering Shannon Greenup. The trial here at the High Court in Glasgow continues. Katrina Renton, reporting Scotland.
Stephen Gerrard is now the front runner to become the new manager of Rangers. BBC Scotland understands the job is his if he wants it. Contact has now been made between the Ibrox club and representatives of the former Liverpool and England captain, who's currently a youth development coach at Anfield. Liverpool say they wouldn't stand in his way. Chris McLaughlin reports.
From shortlist to front runner, is this the new Rangers manager? His old manager had this to say today.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised when I seen it, but I think the most important thing when you're starting out, it's about when you feel the time is right and when you feel ready. I think it's, well, especially when it's your first job, it's not necessarily about a club, it's about the right club.
This is his current club. The Liverpool legend is now a development coach, and those at Anfield wouldn't stand in his way.
I think if he thinks he's ready, he's ready. That's how it is. And if he thinks he wants to do something different, really big if, well, we'll be completely happy for him and we will support him.
So for a story that's been rumbling for a few days, here is what we know. Gerrard is indeed on a short list here created by the Rangers board. He's been told the job is his if he wants it. Gerrard himself and his agent are saying absolutely nothing, but you do get the sense there are those here at this club, at boardroom level, who think he might well just say yes. Today, the man currently in charge came out fighting. I think I've done a good job so far. The club knows I want this job. There has never been any doubt about that.
If you're Graham Murty and, Stephen Gerrard gets the job, you say to yourself, he's no more qualified than I am for the job. In fact, Graham Murty's probably coached for longer than Stephen Gerrard has. So you're maybe thinking, is he just here because of his name?
That is the question, but the man himself has yet to provide Rangers with an answer. Chris McLaughlin, reporting Scotland.
You're watching BBC Reporting Scotland. It's just a smidgen after 20 to 7. A reminder of tonight's top story. The company in charge of maintaining 17 Edinburgh schools is accused by the council of hiding from its responsibilities. And still to come, with one game left, will Brechin City be the first Scottish club in modern times to finish their season having won no matches? A mass protest against Donald Trump is being called for if the US president decides to come to Scotland during his UK visit in July. The Labour leader, Richard Leonard, says President Trump represents abhorrent values. However, the group Republicans in Scotland say he should be allowed to visit his ancestral homeland and that Scottish business will benefit. Our political correspondent, Andrew Kerr, has the story.
Preparing for a presidential visit? Maybe not. Perhaps just a fresh lick of paint at Trump Turnberry. Donald Trump stepped away from the business during his presidential term. But down the road in Girvan, what do people think of him stepping back here during his presidential visit to the UK?
Do you think he should come to Turnberry and come to this area?
Very much so. I mean, he only does on the golf course, so I should imagine he'd want to be up and have a look around again.
I think it's a bit like Marmite. You're either going to love him or you're going to hate him. I think it's just one of those situations.
Why do you not like him?
Because of his Twitter account. He just tweets racist, homophobic, awful tweets.
President Trump is due in the UK on Friday the 13th of July after a NATO summit in Brussels. It's a working visit. The President will meet the Prime Minister and he's also likely to meet the Queen. The meeting with the monarch would be at Buckingham Palace or at Windsor Castle. It's unlikely he would meet the Queen at Balmoral, as Her Majesty will not be in residence there. He's got two big business interests, the golf links near Aberdeen, and of course the larger Turnberry Resort. A visit to either is maybe unlikely this time around. At some point in the future, no doubt, he'd also want to visit family in Lewis. The security services know he'll face a storm of protest everywhere he goes, and he's being warned not to come to Scotland.
I hope that there would be a massive turnout of people showing the strong view of the people of Scotland that Donald Trump and his political values are not welcome here.
President Trump is no stranger to Scotland. For some, a visit would be most welcome.
I think it's a great opportunity for Scotland. I think it's for local leaders in the Scottish government. I think it's a great opportunity to interact with, the leader of the United States of America. Think of, you don't have to like Trump. You could hate Trump, but think about your constituents.
US sources have indicated that President Trump would like to visit Scotland during his time in office. Mr. Trump is the ultimate businessman and not one to let a publicity opportunity go to waste. Andrew Kerr, reporting Scotland, Turnberry.
Scotland's biggest council is facing the possibility of a strike over the pay of some women workers. It's the latest twist in a long and complex battle over equal pay. The trade union Unison says talks with Glasgow City Council have stalled. Our local government correspondent Jamie McIver is at the City Chambers for us tonight. Jamie.
Well, Sally, this is an issue that's gone on for several years, and it all stems from the way jobs were graded. It meant that women such as care workers were earning significantly less than men, including bin collectors, even though their jobs were deemed to be of equal value. Now, earlier on today, BBC Scotland spoke to a group of care workers who between them had 49 years of experience of caring for vulnerable people in their own homes. But over the years, they've earned thousands less than men doing jobs of equal value to theirs.
Some of the people that we go to, we're their only, the only people that they see, and they rely on us to go in. This is a last resort that we feel that we have to come to, because the council are just no coming forth and admitting that, that they're doing us wrong.
Principally, we should be paid no matter what sex you are, the same for an equal contribution to a job. But the money will make a big difference in people's lives. And we have been underpaid for so many years that it's going to make a massive difference to people now.
Now, there have been many settlements to similar cases all across Scotland. Nobody from Glasgow City Council was available for interview today, but the council leader has previously said she's very sympathetic to the women. The council did give us a statement, though. They say they've appointed one of the country's leading experts in job evaluation, and that while all sides agreed the process would take time, they're still confident a deal can be reached. Still, Unison is going to have this what you might call an informal ballot on strike action next week to get a sense of what kind of action its members would be prepared to take. Any action is still some way off, but the fact the union's exploring that possibility tells you just how frustrated they are.
Jamie McIver, thank you very much. Jamie McIver in Glasgow there. Environmentalists say an important sand dune system on the Ayrshire coast could be destroyed because of a 65-year-old government order. They say the former ICI site has become a mecca for wildlife since it closed, but the special development order allows new construction without the need for planning permission. They want the Scottish Government to withdraw the order, as our environment correspondent Kevin Keane reports.
It's been described as one of the largest brownfield sites in Scotland, 623 hectares of derelict land along a network of sand dunes.
Got him.
But throughout the years, this area has become a haven for wildlife. Rare bees, birds and insects reside here, including this Minotaur beetle, usually only found further south. And these environmentalists say the law offers little protection.
As well as the sort of dune grassland that's behind us, there's open heath, there's woodland of various kinds, damp areas and so on. So there's a big variety of habitats in a mosaic, and that mosaic means that each one can have its own particular species.
Ardea used to house this huge ICI factory, once described as the largest explosives manufacturer in the world, but all this is now long gone. Plans are in place to redevelop the area with housing, retail, a hotel and a golf course.
But the problem is much of this area is covered by what's called a special development order.
And according to North Ayrshire Council, that basically means that almost anything can be built here without the need for proper planning permission.
And while the development is widely regarded as crucial, this local councillor says it has to be done right.
Absolutely, not at any cost. I mean, as I said, I think this site particularly is important in terms of wildlife and development, and I certainly don't think the two are mutually exclusive. But I do think to address both those things, it has to be done within the regulatory framework that applies across the whole of North Ayrshire.
In a statement, the council says it'd like to see its vision for the site achieved through a voluntary revocation of the order backed by legislation. While we cannot offer any guarantees, they add, we are actively speaking with landowners and the Scottish Government. But there are fears about the potential impact if it's developed unchecked.
Well, it means we've got an area which is very good for biodiversity, but if anything was to be developed here, there's no proper scrutiny of what damage might be done, and that's our main worry, I think.
The Scottish Government says it does have the power to revoke the order, and it's working to establish the best course of action. Kevin Keane reporting, Scotland, Ardea.
It's 20 years since the music charity Drake set up in Scotland. Its ambition was to make music accessible to people with disabilities by developing technology that could be played with the most limited of movement. The group's been so successful they now have a digital orchestra which performed recently in Singapore. Our arts correspondent Pauline McLean reports.
So we're going to rehearse Bounding.
It was a simple mission, if a huge one, to allow everyone to make music, whatever their challenges. A head movement, a gesture, that's all it takes with the technology Drake Music has developed over the past 2 decades.
We believe everyone is a musician, and that as long as you can capture some way of them moving and some way of them controlling something, that we can capture that and turn that into control of musical sound.
But these musicians wanted to do more than simply play. They've mastered their new instruments and now perform in a digital orchestra. Rona was among 5 musicians who performed in concert in Singapore recently. Across 3 nights, they performed for 10,000 people. And having taken Drake Music to the world, they're now focused on a celebration a little closer to home, a concert in Edinburgh, for which they're preparing a brand new piece of music with composer Aidan O'Rourke.
They think about music in a really deep way, and it's hats off to Drake Music Scotland, because this is 20 years in, it's gone from being a concept to an actually a band that goes and plays in Singapore and Boston and plays in the Queen's Hall.
Pauline McLean reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
Brechin City Football Club could go into the history books tomorrow, but not in a good way. Unless they take the honours against Queen of the South, they'll have gone all season without a single win. It's a fate that hasn't befallen a Scottish club since 1892. But as Andrew Anderson discovered, Brechin and their fans are staying strong.
Just think goal, just think goal.
Final training for the final game, and the last match of the season's a big one for the part-time players of Brechin City. It really has been the toughest season imaginable for these guys. With just 1 game to go, they've drawn 4, lost 31, with not a single win. If they don't defeat Queen of the South tomorrow, they'll be the first Scottish club in modern times to go an entire season without a win. Talking to the skipper though, it's obvious the squad's upbeat.
We've got a good group of boys here, and we'll stick together, and it's we just you can hear it there. There you go, you hear it there. So you've got to have a bit of banter, and as I said before, when we got promoted last season, we were obviously delighted in that, but we knew it was going to be tough.
A year ago, celebrations for Brechin City, promoted to the Championship. Behind the smiles though, they knew then it would be tough. But as the sun sets on the season, the manager's determined to look ahead to the next.
Quite a lot of the boys have come from League 2, Lowland League, League 1, and they've worked their way up, and they've never came up and played in the Championship, so it's a great experience for them. We probably didn't envisage it going the way it has gone this season, but if we can take that experience and we can rebuild the squad and have a go to come back next year.
If it's been tough for the team, it's not exactly been easy for the fans.
They knew the expectations of what was going to happen, the level we were going to be playing at, and up until maybe the last couple of months, people have understood that. But there has been a couple of people in the fan base wanting the manager gone.
The chairman's been buoyed by the continuing support from the fans.
I mean, the vast majority of our fans have supported us greatly throughout the season. We've received many statements of encouragement as we've come towards the end of the season. So, you know, it's certainly not all doom and gloom around the place.
So a lot to play for tomorrow if this team's to avoid a place in the history books that no club would want. Andrew Anderson, reporting Scotland with Brechin City FC.
Come on, Brechin. Let's find out what we can expect from the weekend weather now. Here's Chris.
Sally, thank you. Hello there, good evening to you. Well, there were some lovely spells of sunshine around today for some of us. Great picture from one of our weather watchers on the Ardnamurchan Peninsula there. But you can see on the satellite and radar a rash of showers across the far north and the northeast in particular, giving a very different feel to the day. Quite chilly as those showers pass through, but dramatic nonetheless. Now, as we go through the next few hours, most of those showers will tend to fizzle and fade away to leave a dry night and a clear night, but a cold night. Temperatures in towns and cities down to 1 to 3 Celsius. In the countryside, a touch of frost, perhaps a little bit of mist around. A chance of seeing the northern lights tonight as well under those clear skies. So, to the weekend, and whilst there is low pressure nearby, actually we'll escape and have a day sort of similar to today. Some sunshine, a few showers. It's going to be a chilly start, some shallow mist patches, that'll quickly go. And then reasonably dry. A few early showers, mainly across eastern Scotland, but through the course of the day, that light northeasterly drift will just drive a few further west, and daytime heating, the sunshine will create a few showers as well. So by mid-afternoon, say around 4 o'clock, warmest part of the day. In the west, some sunshine, chance of catching a shower up to around 12 Celsius, so pleasant out with them. Further east, reasonably dry through parts of Tayside south to the borders. Further north, still a number of showers here, particularly through the Cairngorms, and some of those with hail. Some of them wintry with elevation. So if you're hill walking or climbing, that's something to bear in mind. In fact, let's take a look at that, and you can see there it is a case of sunshine and showers. Temperatures there on the summits, and whilst the winds will be light, it's going to feel quite chilly with around about 0 to 1 Celsius there. And great visibility because the wind's coming in from the north. So if you get the sunshine, a pretty decent day, has to be said. Rest of the afternoon into the evening, the showers fade away. It's a dry night, it's a clear night, another cold one. Gardeners beware. Sunday, and well, a reasonable day. If you really want a dry day this weekend, Sunday is your best bet. You might be lucky on Saturday, but Sunday's probably your best bet. Some cloud around, some sunshine, 1 or 2 very isolated showers, and temperatures around 10 to 13 Celsius, warmest in the west. Winds once again fairly light from the east-northeast. And into Monday, we are in that window of fine, dry weather between these 2 low-pressure systems. So another dry day to come on Monday, but it goes downhill from Tuesday onwards. That's the forecast for now.
Thanks very much, Chris. Now, tonight's main news again. The leaders of North and South Korea have agreed to work to rid the peninsula of nuclear weapons after holding a historic summit. Kim Jong-un and President Moon Jae-in shook hands on the border in the demilitarized zone where an armistice was signed in 1953. In a joint statement, the leaders said there would be no more war on the Korean peninsula. And that's Reporting Scotland. I'll be back with the headlines at 8 and the late bulletin just after the 10 o'clock news. Until then, from everyone in the team right across the country, good evening.